Townsquare Sunday continues this morning with our next guest, Kathleen Lovenbury. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Crystal Springs in Assonet. Crystal Springs, as many of you know, offers programs and services to physically and developmentally challenged children and adults. It is not an easy job. It takes a lot of enthusiastic people to make it go. And from what I read on your website, you, Kathleen, are one of those enthusiastic people. Welcome.
Thank you.
Also with us is Lucy Pacheco, who is the Director of Admissions at Crystal Springs. She's been there for 26 years. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
So, Kathleen, let's talk first to you. How did you arrive at Crystal Springs? Give me a little career path to this place.
Sure. Going way back, I've had an interest in working with people with developmental disabilities based on some very early experiences. I had a step-sibling who I met when I was 9 years old who had cerebral palsy and developmental disabilities, and he was a resident at the Paul Dever State School. So my first exposure and experience to people with disabilities was at the age of 9, and I could relate firsthand to another 9-year-old with disabilities. And that's where my interest started. And from there, I went on to school to become an art therapist with an interest in working with people who had alternative ways of expressing themselves and communicating. This eventually led to a job at Fernald State School in Waltham, and from there to a place in Barre, Mass. Called the Stetson School, where I started an art therapy program, and over the next 26 years progressed through a number of different positions until I became the CEO. Having brought that school through many stages of its development and eventually into a merger with Seven Hills Foundation, it was time to move on, and I had the wonderful opportunity to come back to the area that I grew up in and start to work at Crystal Springs. So full circle.
Sure, certainly. What was attractive about this job, other than coming back to the area, which I've always felt is a beautiful area, really? But what was attractive about it?
Yeah, well, one of the things that really struck me about Crystal Springs, and I had been familiar with Crystal Springs for many years, but in touring the campus, meeting the staff, meeting the individuals, I had this overwhelming sense of and I know this sounds a little unusual coming from a CEO, but love that was palpable within that organization, within our organization now. The warmth and compassion that that just exudes from the place was overwhelmingly striking, and I thought, boy, there's a lot of things that I can teach and train and develop, but that's a really hard thing to bring into an organization. And I was sold right away. So it was the people we support, the tremendous potential that I can see at Crystal Springs.
Lucy, give us a little bit of an overview of the population, the people you serve, and some of the programs. Some.
Okay. We serve children and adults starting the ages of 3 till I can't even think of how old our oldest resident is, in their 50s, I think.
Yeah, late 50s.
Yeah. And they, the children go to school there, and then after school they go home there at Crystal Springs. We have a 45-acre campus, and the adults do the same. They go to the day program, which is also located in Assonet, and then they come back home to Crystal Springs on Narrows Road in Assonet. We have 3 homes in the community in Somerset, Fall River, and Berkeley, and the adults live in those homes, so they're community-based homes. I'm sorry, what was the rest of your question?
No, that's kind of an overview. That's
okay.
what I'm looking for here. So you have residential and day programs, the children's programs, school and residents on campus, and the adults a day program, and then they go home. Some on campus, some elsewhere, the group homes?
Most on campus.
Okay.
There's 3 homes off campus in the 3 communities.
It's a daunting task, I think, just because of the population you serve. But what are the challenges that you see. Now, we've talked about love, we've talked about people committed, but there's got to be some challenges here that you're looking at.
Sure. One of the greatest challenges that we face right now is staff recruitment and retention. And I don't think we're alone in the area, or perhaps all the way across Massachusetts. But finding qualified staff and who oftentimes we have wonderful staff coming in the door, but once they start doing the work, they sometimes discover this is not my cup of tea and move on. And there are other folks that really latch on and dig in and get engaged in the work and do well. But providing tremendous orientation programs, training support, check-ins with supervisory staff, those are the things that we really are working on and developing and continuing to develop so that we can sustain the employees that we have and continue to grow that base. But everybody's competing in a very small pool for employees right now. So that's one of the larger challenges that we have. Staffing.
Yeah. We had the CEO of the New Bedford Community Health Center in a bit ago, and she said the same thing, that staffing is always an issue because they're never going to be able to meet, match the salaries that other places, bigger places, may be offering. So those are always difficult times. But certainly by training and working with employees, you can, A, find out if this is for them, and 2, you can perhaps come up with a gem, someone who really says, hey, this is really a wonderful way to go.
Right. We found Lucy 26 years ago, and she's been one of those gems. One of the things that we're really we work on is really developing the culture, and we have a strong spirit and wellness committee and a safety committee and core values that we bring together to make sure that we have an environment that's positive and supportive for all our employees.
You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. I'm Jim Phillips, and my guest is Kathleen Lovenbury, the new CEO, or I should say you've been there for a while, so we'll just say the CEO at Crystal Springs in Assonet, and also Lucy Pacheco, Director of Administration at Crystal Springs. I think you've answered this, but how do you prevent burnout staff? And training is one of the things you can do to help that situation, but you've seen it, I'm sure,
yes,
at this place and other places. How do you prevent it, Kathleen?
Right. Encouraging staff to take breaks and encouraging the use of their benefit time, providing support through connection with a supervisor or manager, and right now we have a real emphasis on activities for employees, strictly for employees and their families. So, for example, this Friday night we have a paint night in Fall River for staff to get together and enjoy the benefit of their peers. And we think it's really important for those relationships to be fostered and developed outside of the workplace as well as within the workplace. And it provides a little bit of relief in the day-to-day working.
So it's real. I mean, burnout is real in perhaps any job, but I think in this job there's always stress that can work on people a little bit. Lucy, what's kept you going?
Everything.
Yeah.
There's not one thing I can say that I love my job. I love the individuals, the staff. It's just going in day to day knowing you're making a difference, not just in the residents' lives, but in the staff too. We're there to support them, appreciate them, tell them what a good job they're doing, and that truly is what they do and what I like to do for the staff and, of course, the individuals. I love seeing them every day, seeing them in their day-to-day environment.
When guests come in here and they're from nonprofits, I've got to ask them about their funding source, because I'm a little concerned about, and I'm sure you are, if you do receive federal funds, where that's all headed.
Right.
As we head towards the budget discussion in October in the federal government. But what's the funding situation? Is it mostly federal, state, Tell us.
It's a combination of federal and state funding. Our adult program is primarily Mass Health and the DAHAB, DDS funding, Department of Developmental Services. For the adults on the residential side, the children's are public school funding, circuit breaker through the state, and we also have Department of Children and Family funding as well. And yes, we're keeping an eye on the federal budget and what's happening with Medicaid and how that flows into the state, because the individuals that we support really can't go out and get jobs to make up the difference for any reduction in their funding to support the needs that they have. They're some of the most dependent and fragile people in the Commonwealth.
So what about private donations and things like that? Is that a big part? It's a big part of any nonprofit, I'm sure, but you know, is it a big part of your financial future?
It certainly wouldn't be big enough to make up for the Medicaid deficit.
Sure. Yeah.
But we do have some fundraising. We have a couple events a year. We have a golf tournament coming up in September, and we have a small gala-style event in the spring, and then we have some various grants that help offset funding. But that's really around enrichment of technology and services for the people we support.
So tell us about the golf tournament. Are you still taking golfers in? Or you do it by teams, or
yes.
How do you do it?
I'm going to hand that over to Lucy. She's our specialist in this area.
So we can have teams. We can have single players. We can have two on a team. We are currently trying to advertise for players, donations, sponsors. The tournament is on the 25th of September at LeBaron Hills Country Club in Lakeville. And this year's tournament they've all been special. They've all been in honor of Dr. Manning. He was a pediatrician in Fall River. He passed away this year. So this tournament is extra special. It's in his memory. It's in his honor. Like I said, it's very special. I've known Dr. Manning since I've been at Crystal Springs, and I know people in the area. He probably was their pediatrician way back when he worked out of Fall River Pediatrics. Mm-hmm. So we're looking for sponsors, players, donations for a silent auction.
So how can those folks get involved?
They can give me a call. Mm-hmm. I can be reached at our main number, 508-644-3101, and you would ask for me. Our website, everything's on our website, which is www.crystalspringsinc.org, or our Facebook page.
Okay, so there are ways to get in touch if you'd like to help out the effort at Crystal Springs. There are ways to get involved and ways to contribute, and we can start with the golf tournament in September. The date again is?
The 25th, and shotguns start at noon.
There you go. Okay. Let's talk for a moment again. Let's get back to that federal funding question, because it's so important. Democrats and Republicans have always seemed to line up in support of community health centers, let's say, and you've always had good support for this program as well, I would think. But
yes,
tell us about. Are you lobbying a little bit? Do you have an association that represents similar programs and is talking to folks in Washington?
Sure. Well, we have, on Massachusetts basis, we have the Massachusetts Association of Approved Private Schools, representing the special education schools across Massachusetts and attending to the funding issues on the children's side. And on the adult side, it's ADDP, the Association of Developmentally Disabled People, as well as the ARC. And then federally, it's the National Association of Private Educational Centers, NAPSEC, and ANCOR, which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to remember all the acronyms here. If anybody's interested,
several groups.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're working with multiple groups on this, and all of those groups are working to mobilize individuals who are eligible to vote, family members, board members, and staff to advocate on behalf of the needs of children and adults with disabilities.
You're located in Assonet, away from the beaten path, so to speak. You know, it's a wonderful setting, but not a lot of cars necessarily go by. You're here
true.
today to create some public awareness. That's what this whole visit is about. Is it more than that, or was that basically it? That why you? Sometimes, you know, people call me or write me. I don't make a call. That's what happened here, I think. So,
Sure.
Is it just an awareness thing?
We want to increase the community's awareness of Crystal Springs. We've been making an effort to connect with our community, reach out to our community, know who's in our community, and then help our community know who we are. Crystal Springs has been kind of a sleepy, quiet place out on the peninsula in Assonet, along Assonet Bay shores for years and years and years. However, we're really working toward becoming more involved in our community all the way around. So our individuals are doing work in the community and doing vocational experiences in the community, and of course engaging in entertainment. And so we're just looking to raise our profile out there, and we appreciate your help with this.
No, that's quite all right. All right, we need to push this golf tournament thing one more time here. September 25th.
Yes.
Tell us how to get involved.
So the golf tournament will be held at LeBaron Hills Golf Club in Lakeville, Mass. Shotgun start at noon. I can be reached. You can call me. I can be reached at 508-644-3101. You can also find more information on our website at www.crystalspringsinc.org or visit our Facebook page. If you call that number that I just gave you, you just ask for me, and I can certainly help you.
Play some golf with some wonderful people. You should sign up. Our thanks to Kathleen Lovenbury, CEO of Crystal Springs in Assonet, and also Lucy Pacheco, the Director of Administration, who's been there for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Again.
Our thanks to both of you. The best of luck with Crystal Springs and the golf tournament coming up in September. Townsquare Sunday rolls on. Just a moment.